better always to enjoy applause before than after.
Mr. Goshn, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
I would like to open by asking you how you approach leadership, strategy, and execution differently at Nissan versus at Renault, given that each company has very different cultural contexts.
Well, you know, the French way of managing and the leadership in French expresses itself in a completely different terms than in Japan. I mean, I knew it from the beginning. So in a certain way, you have some fundamentals which are the same. Mm-hmm. And we're going to probably talk about what are these fundamentals. But the way you exercise these fundamentals are completely different. In Japan, I don't run meetings the same way that I run them in France. I don't reward people the same way than I do it in France. What is expected, even in terms of communication, you don't do the same things in Japan. The tools are not the same. The words are not the same. The way even you shape your strategy is not the same. So what we have to do when you are in a situation where you are managing through different culture is you want to make sure about what is the content, which usually is very common, and then what is the packaging of the content, which has to take in consideration the culture. And I can tell you that, I mean, we're talking about France and Japan, but it's varied between the United States or China or India. Every time you have to make the difference about what's the content, what do I need to do, what is the essence of my message, and second, you know, what is the best way, what is the most efficient way to make this message go through.
Great. When you joined Nissan in 1999, the company had been suffering from major losses over the past 7 years, and only 3 of its 48 models were profitable. You turned the company around and restored it to profitability within 2 years. As both the company outsider and the first foreign CEO of the company, how did you earn the support of your team and motivate them to execute on your plan?
Yeah. Well, you know, 1999, the situation was really bad in Nissan. And when you are, you know, taking a responsibility for a situation which is bad, it's also a strength because you don't need to explain to people that situation is bad. They know it already. They know it. And you need to know also that the solution is always here. You don't have to look, I mean, you don't need to invent the solution. You know that people know already that it's bad. And second, that the solution exists, but it's buried inside the company. So your job is very simple in a certain way, is just make sure that you make the very lucid diagnosis of the situation. Very lucid, no emotion, no you know, sugar coating, no politics, no complacency. Extremely lucid assessment of the situation, and listen to what people have to say to a very simple question: why are we in this situation? What do you think can we improve? What are the things that should be done? Then you have your own personal doing about what are the priorities, because you end up with a laundry list of measures that needs to be done. And obviously you cannot work on 120 objectives or on 200 objectives. You need really to concentrate them into 2 or 3, because that's the only thing you can absorb at the level of a big organization. Make sure they are the right one and start to work on them. So, you know, in Nissan, in 1999, everybody knew that Nissan had a problem. The only thing is that nobody recognized that the problem was in his own area. You know, if I was in sales, I was blaming the product planner that they were not able to come with a car competitive with Toyota. If I was in the product planner, I say, well, I have a great product, but the design is not good. The designer said, well, the engineers are messing up with me. So everybody, in a certain way, felt good about what they were doing, but the company had the problem. So you need to change this by saying, okay, we understand that the other guys are not doing the job, but what we want from you is what you can do, you know, in your own area, even if you think it's not very important, what you can do in your own area in order to solve the problem. So, lucid diagnosis, no complacency, finding the bits of solution inside the company, put them in perspective, put them into priorities, put it in a way which is attractive, you know, because what is management about? Management, and particular leadership, is asking people to do things that they don't want to do. That's it. That's management. No, I mean, you don't manage in a situation where everything is okay. You know, that's not management. That's supervision. That's administration, etc. What's real management and leadership? You're going to ask. You're going to have. Okay, say people don't want to cut headcount. They don't want to restructure. They don't want to, close down plants. They don't want to retreat from markets where they've been for many years. They don't want to stop some activities. They don't want to sell assets. They don't want to do that. Okay? So the very simple question of management is, how do you bring them to do this and keep their motivation and being convinced that they're doing the right thing? That's management and that's leadership. And for this, the basic element is put it in perspective, give yourself an objective that everybody says, oh, that's what we want to achieve. So it helps them go through the tough situation where they will do things that they don't want to do, but they know it's for the right thing. And this is the Nissan story. That's exactly the Nissan story. You know, when I arrived in Japan in 1999, one of the reasons for which Nissan was in trouble is there were a lot of decisions which needed to be taken 5 years ago were not taken. But a lot of people used to tell you, you know, you are in Japan, you cannot close down a plant, you cannot reduce headcount, you cannot undo cross-shareholding, you cannot touch the keiretsu, you cannot touch the seniority system, you cannot do. There are a lot of things that nobody wanted to touch. So there was absolutely no way you're going to fix the company without touching all these taboos. So we start to say, okay, look, are we all committed to say we're going to come back to profit and we're going to grow this company again? Yes, no doubt. Unanimity. Okay. Let's commit to this. We all commit to this and say, okay, now we're going to start to explain what is the road. And as you know, the Nissan Revival Plan challenged every single taboo because we've done everything which was forbidden and people said you would not be able to do, but with clear commitment to return to profitability within the first year of the plan. So that's the way you drive people. You know, that's what management is about. Put in front of them something that they want really to do, to achieve, that is really significant for them. Significant for them not only theoretically, but pragmatically, they are connected with this victory, that they are proud of having revived the company, but it was good for them, for their salary, for their career, for their compensation, for their stock options, for their benefits, for their retirement, for everything. Then after you align this, okay, now we say, now we have